Hi everyone.
Hi.
Today we are making chocolate mousse. I mean, Erica is not a big chocolate mousse fan. I am a massive chocolate mousse fan.
How much chocolate mousse do you reckon you've eaten in the last probably 2 weeks?
A lot, because Erica has been experimenting. There was a couple of failed ones. She's really nailed the recipe now, but this is the third time. And Erica doesn't eat it, so I have eaten a fair bit.
A couple of spoonfuls. You've been enjoying taking it to work every day.
I have.
But this is a really yummy chocolate mousse recipe, and possibly you might have a lot of the ingredients on there. Easy to get at the supermarket now, which is good. So we are using 85% cacao dark chocolate. So you could use a less dark chocolate if that's more suitable to your taste buds. We were quite happy with this one. I wouldn't say it was overly sweet.
No.
The mousse, would you say?
But because you're adding the cream and the cream cheese,
yeah,
it's not super dark either. So don't be afraid to try the 85%.
Yes.
Also, I will say we have a puppy that has moved in next door.
Our neighbours have a new puppy. He's very cute.
Yes, but he has just found his voice. So if there's barking in the background, please ignore it. We're just going to roll with it.
But yes, we've got one block of the 85% dark chocolate, and I've just chopped it up into small pieces here. We've also got some cream cheese, and we've just left that out to soften to room temperature, some cream, some vanilla, and then also some powdered sweetener. So you can use, this is the sucrin icing, sucrin mealis I think it's called, but it's the sweetener that's the icing sugar consistency. You can buy the Lakanto monk fruit one at Coles. Alternatively, you can just like blend up granulated sweetener in like a coffee grinder or a blender or something to make it, because you want it to be that powdered consistency, because we don't want it to be gritty.
Yeah.
So that's all the ingredients that you need, and there's kind of going to be 2 steps. So we're going to basically make like a ganache. So we're going to heat up some cream on the stove, and then we're going to pour that over the chocolate and let that all melt together, and it will come to like a really nice kind of thick and creamy chocolate. But then we need to let that kind of come down in temperature. We don't want it to be hot for when we actually make the mousse. So we will heat up the cream on the stove first of all. So this is just half a cup of the cream, and I'm just going to heat it up until just before it boils. You don't want it to boil. And then we will pour it over the chocolate and melt it. Our cream has been heated up, so now I'm just going to pour it over the top of our kind of finely chopped chocolate, and then I'm just going to leave it for like a minute or 2 to kind of do its thing. It's very tempting at this point to stir it.
I would want to stir it for sure.
But I think it's good just to leave it for a little bit. And then we're going to stir it, and it will kind of be like, initially it just looks like cream with like chocolate specks in it, and then it will, like, you just keep stirring it, and it'll eventually go to this like really thick kind of like a ganache. So we'll just leave it for a little bit, and then we'll give it a stir. Let's give it a stir. This is the fun part. I love this. So you can see what I mean, like it's kind of, it looks now just like cream with bits of chocolate in it, but just keep stirring it, because we want to make sure all the chocolate's melted, like we don't want any lumps in it, and you also want it to be really kind of silky and smooth.
So just be like a little patient, is that your advice?
Yeah.
So if you just wanted like a chocolate ganache recipe, that's what you would do?
Yeah. I don't know what you'd have to check what the ratios are depending on what you want to do with it. Like if you wanted to use it for icing or whatever, I'm not sure exactly what the ratio, there's are specific ratios, but you can see that's just like really creamy. There's no lumps of chocolate. It's all melted and it's all really well combined. And it's not that hot because the chocolate has kind of cooled down the cream. But we want to just sit it aside to really just be like room temperature, because we don't want it to melt the cream and the cream cheese when we're adding it together. But we also don't want it to like set or harden. So we still want it to be this consistency, but just not so that when you touch it, it feels like nothing basically. So we're just going to set that aside to cool for a little while, and then we'll come back and finish the mousse. Chocolate mixture, you can see it's still the same texture, like, you know, liquid, thick liquid, I guess you would say. But it's completely cool now, so there's no heat left in it.
That was about an hour.
That was about an hour, so I guess it would depend on the temperature
on the outside
at your place. But now we're going to move on with putting the rest of the mousse together. So we have our cream cheese here, so that has just been sitting out to soften, and what we're going to do is just beat it for about 30 seconds to a minute to kind of just break it up and make it creamy. Okay, so that is that, and now we're going to add in our vanilla and our powdered sweetener to this. And at this point you could also add in, I guess, some other flavorings
if you wanted
of
like
your
chocolate
choice.
mint or something like that.
Yeah, so you could add
or...
in, yeah, like mint or orange would be nice. You'd end up with like Jaffa or like a choc mint flavour, or you could add in maybe a shot of coffee or something to make it like a mocha. We're just going with
traditional,
original. So a teaspoon of vanilla, and then I'm going to do 1/4 cup of this powdered sweetener, and I am going to use a sieve because it does get very lumpy. So we're just using 1/4 cup of the sweetener. We find that is sweet enough for us. I guess if you like it really sweet, you might want to add a little bit more.
Or less sweet, you can leave like...
Oh yeah, you could leave this out altogether and just use the sweetness from the chocolate and the cream. But we're going to I'm just going to mix this all together. Just be a bit careful at the start so that icing sugar doesn't go everywhere. Just going to scrape down the sides to make sure it's all incorporated. Okay, so I think that is done. So now I'm just going to add in the cream, and then we're going to beat it again. So again, you might just want to go a little bit slow at this stage because you don't want the cream to kind of go everywhere. So I'm just
the cream went everywhere.
The cream went everywhere, so don't worry about that. So I'm just going to scrape down the sides and make sure the cream cheese. So what we're wanting here is the cream cheese and the cream to combine and be completely smooth, and then we're going to start kind of whipping it up, and then just before it gets to soft peaks we want to stop. Okay, so that's about what we're looking for. So you can see it's all smooth, like there's no lumps of cream cheese, and it has started to increase in volume, like the cream's starting to whip up. But we don't want to go too far because we're going to keep beating it once we add the chocolate in, and we don't want to kind of overbeat it. So you can see it's kind of when the beater will leave like marks in the top, I'd say that's probably a good indication. So we've got our chocolate mixture here. We'll just give it a good mix, and now we're going to pop about 1/3 of the chocolate mixture in with the cream, and then we're going to beat this, and then we'll add the rest in. But this where it looks cool, I reckon. I love how it goes from like a cream to like a chocolate mix.
Yes.
So now we're going to add in the rest of our chocolate mixture, and we'll just give it a wipe down the sides again. Okay, now we're just going to beat this together. So we're just really making sure that it's all combined, and you don't want to overbeat it at this stage because it can kind of split, but It's looking pretty good to me. I'm just going to give it a bit of a wipe and one more little mix. So that is our chocolate mousse all ready. You can see kind of it's really silky,
it's so silky,
smooth. It's quite light, so you can eat it now.
Which is what I'm going to do.
Or you can pop it in the fridge to firm up a little bit. I think I like it better when it's firmed up a little bit. But it doesn't have to set for a certain amount of time or something, but it just gets a much kind of
area texture or something.
I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, you can eat it either way. But you're going to give it a taste?
Yeah, so at this stage, if you're going to serve it to family and friends or whatever and you wanted to have a nice presentation, you might want to put it in like a small glass or a ramekin, especially if you're going to set it. I would put it in the serving dish and then set it.
Yeah, 100%.
Not just let it set because it's really hard to like...
Yeah, make it look nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, I've put it into a piping bag and then piped it into the glass or the ramekin, so that makes it look nice, I guess, if it's for like a dinner party or something like that. Also, what we usually do is just put a big bowl of it in the fridge and then Dan just scoops out what she wants.
If you wanted to pretty it up, you could serve it with some berries on top or some whipped cream or anything like
chocolate,
that. To be honest,
crushed nuts, whatever
just put it in a bowl and eat it. Right. I actually quite like it like that. But I also like it set.
It's quite different, isn't it?
It's quite
both ways.
Two different things, to be honest. That is like so
just melts
silky
on your tongue.
Yeah. The set version has more air bubbles in it. Like when it's set, you can see the air bubbles.
Yeah, just more texture in general. Yeah.
Okay, you have to try this. This is so delicious. If you enjoyed this video, guys, give us a thumbs up. Definitely try this recipe. Comment below if you've given it a go. And thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.